This video is about accepting criticism. This is pretty much motivated by somebody who sent me a message trying to criticize my sparring, and it's just generating thoughts on that. I didn't read through the entire message, but it just got me motivated to make a video about accepting criticism in general. There's a Chinese story, about a Taoist story about a professor who visits like a Taoist monk or a Taoist master, not a monk, a Taoist master, to learn from him. But then the professor was all filled up with his own ideas, and he felt that he already knew everything, and the Taoist monk was trying to fill up, to try to illustrate a point. So he was just basically serving him tea, just kept filling up the cup with tea until it just overflowed, and then it overflowed onto the saucer, and then it overflowed the saucer onto the floor, and then the tea got everywhere, and the professor got upset, and he's like saying, "Why did you do that?" And the Taoist, master was saying how that's how your mind is. You're just so filled up with your own thoughts and ideas that you can't even taste my cup of tea, So basically, the story is trying to teach you to be open-minded, to maintain an open mind. So I know of that story, I know of that teaching, but at the same time, there is the way that I am and what makes sense to me, and Bruce Lee would also make the statement, ultimately all knowledge is self-knowledge, and martial arts is so specialized that even my student mentioned it last night. It's so specialized that very few people out there know it because it is so specialized. You do not find that many martial artists out there. I mean, there's extremely very few. You'll find a bunch of basketball players because it's a very popular sport with organized rules, and you'll find a bunch of baseball players, a bunch of football players, because these are sports that are just widely practiced by so many people. And with that, it's watched by so many people, and there's, the rules have stayed the same for so long, and there's so many quote-unquote experts in it, so many people giving commentaries, everybody's giving commentaries, even people that don't play football give commentaries on the proper way to do this and do that. But martial arts is not, it's so specialized that every little specialization, there's very few people that will know about that. So you got something like judo tournaments that have their special way of sparring. You got BJJ that has their special way of sparring in their tournaments. You got karate that has their special way of sparring in their tournaments. And then you have, every little specialty that specializes in their way of sparring. And somebody that practices Taekwondo and they do Olympic type of sparring, point sparring, they're not really in a position to criticize people that practice judo, and then judo does their way of sparring, and then wrestling does their way. Like this all specialties. So if a wrestler goes in there and tries to criticize a judo person and how he spars in a tournament, it's not in his place to do it because his specialty is different. Like everybody that watches football, they watch it a lot. Okay, they all know the rules, they know this, they know that. It's more likely that, there's going to be criticisms coming from all different angles, but they're all talking about the same thing at least. The same game of football or soccer or basketball. But when one martial artist criticizes another martial artist, a lot of times they're not in the right position to do so, because whatever they're practicing is not going to be the same. So nobody really can be in a position to criticize my way of sparring, because I created this sparring method. I created safe sparring. That is a terminology that I came up with. I didn't take that from anybody else. I didn't tell people. I didn't watch other people's videos and say, okay, I'm gonna. Oh, this person called his safe sparring. Let me start doing what this person's doing. No, the term safe sparring was created by me. Now, some other people might have used it, but I don't know. I never looked at anybody's videos to say, okay, I'm going to start using safe sparring because I saw this video and they use safe sparring. No, I came up with the terminology safe sparring, and this is my sparring method that I created that nobody else knows. You know, it's not based off of cage fighting. It's not based off of judo. It's not based off taekwondo. It's not based off of anything else but my creation. So nobody is in a position to say this is how you're supposed to do it, because this is what I created. You know, it's specific for my school. You know, and I have my methods, I have my approach. This is my way. You know, so that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. You know, is just this is a different position. You know, it's like, because I was teaching my student the wooden dummy. You know, our special form. And he even mentioned it, is like, this is so specific. Like, nobody can be in a position to criticize my wooden dummy form because I created it. Somebody that uses the wooden dummy, like say the people that practice Wing Chun and say they watched me do my own expression of on the wooden dummy, they can't really tell me, oh, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. How can I not be doing this right and that right when this is my creation and this is my way? I'm not practicing your way, I'm practicing my way. You know, I'm in the position to criticize other people that are learning from me because they accept my criticism because I'm their teacher. But I don't accept anybody out there as my teacher, you know, unless I decide that this is a person that I want to learn from, so I'm going to be all ears. I'm going to have an open mind. Because very few people out there really practice the martial arts in my eyes, I don't really look for anybody for guidance when it comes to the martial arts out there in the public. It's more so just using Bruce Lee as the foundation, his teachings of the real martial arts, and he is the teacher to me. And then I have to be the teacher to myself, where it goes back to that self-knowledge, where I discover myself, I create myself, and then I express my way. Like, I don't just gather up information from the people around me and then just copycat what they do. Like, ever since the invention of YouTube, I never really go to any videos to learn from anybody about martial arts, because I like to discover on my own, and I like to create on my own, and I like to express my own when it comes to the martial arts, because that's the fun of it, And that's the challenge. To rather than have somebody try to tell you their truth, rather I would like to discover the truth within myself, through experimentation. And this is me. And we live in a day and age where everybody wants to criticize. Everybody wants to comment. And I think what is necessary now is more so eliminating all the comments and criticisms that are irrelevant, untruthful, or just simply false. Just eliminating garbage. Rather than it's like heading towards the truth from your own inner self, opposed to being misguided by thousands or millions of people that are pulling you in many different directions, and of which many of these people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Because like I said, this is a specialty. This is so specific. Like Bruce Lee's way, his Jeet Kune Do is so different than anybody else's martial art expression. So you could have a judo person, a karate person, a taekwondo person, a boxer, a wrestler, saying that everything that Bruce Lee's saying is wrong, but they don't practice Jeet Kune Do. So how could they say that he's wrong when that's not even what they do? Only Bruce Lee can say what is wrong and what is right according to his own art, under his own authority. And really, he's one of the very few teachers that I do accept, because I really feel that he knew what he was talking about. But very few people that I meet face to face or anything, I have that respect for. I've met a lot of martial artists in my lifetime, and there are some that are really good at certain things that I would learn from. And that's self-explanatory. They don't have to be like, hey, listen to me, learn from me, this is how you're supposed to do it. No. They simply do what they do, and then they gain my respect from just doing what they're doing. Like, when I first started martial arts, I wasn't good at kicking. I wasn't even that, wasn't even that flexible. But then I met some people that were really good at kicking, that were really flexible, and then that inspired me to get better in those areas. And I would learn from their training methods. They wouldn't even have to tell me what to do. I would see what they would do, and I would practice it myself. And I've learned from some wrestlers, because I didn't know anything about wrestling. I've learned from, I learned certain things from people that were really valuable towards my own development. But that has to happen in a interaction where the wrestler or whoever has to, pretty much demonstrate to me, and then, not really demonstrate, but has to do their thing, and then I gain respect from what they do to learn from them. And that's the only way that I choose to grow that makes sense to me. It's just not everybody out there, in my eyes, is worthy from learning from. I think 99% of the stuff out there serves to be a distraction towards your path. And you have to be really good at weeding out the unessentials in order to discover the truth. To me, the teachings are similar to what Bruce Lee would talk about in a sculpture, where you have a block of clay and then you gotta keep cutting away at the clay until you come upon the beauty. And when you got so many thousands and millions of people trying to criticize everything that you do, one of the true ways, in my eyes, is to block out all that criticism and find the path within yourself. And maybe you do have some guides, but they're not going to be that many. For me, it's Bruce Lee for the martial art aspects, and then Osho for the spiritual aspects. But I know that the truths are within myself. I don't even need Bruce Lee. I don't even need Osho, because they're not even living anyway. I feel that their energies are already within me, and then my discoveries are something current that is an extension to what they were doing. And my creativities are something new for today, of which they are incapable of doing at this moment because they have both passed away. And I've been practicing martial arts for so long that there's very few people out there that will understand what I do, because they don't do what I do, you know, and that's just the reality of it. That's just what makes sense to me. You know, some people could criticize me to say that I'm a know-it-all, or that I think I'm a know-it-all. But I could respond back by saying yes and no, because there's certain things that I feel that I do know, and of course there's certain things that I know that I need to improve upon, or that I don't know. But the longer that I do something, the stronger my confidence is when it comes to, you know, feeling that I know something, you know, that I've been doing for such a long time, you know. And martial arts is, especially the sparring, it's very, very, it's a very unique thing, because it's a direct experience. It can't even happen through videos, sharing videos. It has to be a direct experience. Like, you gotta directly spar with somebody to really gain their respect into, you know, or gain the respect into knowing that this person is at a higher level than you, and that you can benefit from learning from this person. Because it's based off of reactions, it's based off of responses, it's based off of movement, it's based off of timing. There's so many aspects to it that require a direct experience, that it's pretty much everybody that practices the martial arts will always, most people that practice the martial arts will for the most part think that they know better than everybody else. But when it comes to something very, like something physical, like flexibility and speed and strength, like you could see somebody and see that he's more flexible than you, and then you could already immediately surrender yourself and be like, you know what, I need to learn from you because I'm just completely inflexible. Or you could see somebody who's really strong, who's doing like a lot of push-ups or a lot of pull-ups, and then you're like, hey, I'm weak. I could learn from you. What are your secrets? But when it comes to sparring, it's like almost everybody thinks that they could beat up whoever. They think they could beat up the world, and it's, if you want to learn from somebody and you want to see if you respect that person, then what I say, just go ahead and spar with them and see if you could outdo them. And if you can't, then obviously there's something that you could learn from that person. But if you can outdo them, then maybe you should go learn from somebody else. And these sparring videos are like marking my progress, marking the progress of some of my students, and also as a creative way of sharing the martial arts. It's not to, it's not there to basically it's not there to be criticized. It's there because I don't really accept criticism from people of whom haven't proven to me like that they're worth listening to. Because if there's a million people trying to speak, how could you even learn anything if all million people are trying to speak all at once? Out of those million people, you have to choose who's worthy of speaking, so then you will listen, because you only have so much time. So I'm not going to listen to all millions of people. And out of those millions, who is the one worth the time? And honestly, so few people have gained my respect in the martial arts, because my vision of the martial arts is at a different understanding than most people. I'm not just a boxer, and I'm not just a kickboxer, I'm not just a cage fighter. I'll never be wearing gloves. I'll never be representing what they represent. I'll never put on those boxing gloves, those cage fighting gloves, those Muay Thai gloves. I'll never be them. I am representing my way in the martial arts, and I want to train for street combat for no rules. I want to represent that way. And nobody famous has ever displayed this type of scientific approach to combat. Even Bruce Lee didn't put out real sparring videos. And Bruce Lee's the only one that I recognize and respect as somebody who studied the real martial arts for the streets. But everybody else has deviated from the path and has either gone towards Hollywood and expressing martial arts for film, or going towards some type of combat sport. But I don't see anybody really that is expressing martial arts for the streets. So this is something that I'm going to do, that I'm going to represent for my own growth and for me. And my testing grounds is right where I'm at, and I train with the people, I test with the people, I discover, I create, um, I eliminate if necessary, and this is my joy, this is my passion, and I have the rest of my life to enhance what I do, and I don't recognize anybody out there to be in a position where they could really criticize me and my expression, and if people want to call me a narcissist for saying that, then um, go ahead, um, go ahead, because pretty much I've seen people criticize Osho saying he's a narcissist, people criticizing Floyd Mayweather Jr. to say he's a narcissist, people criticizing Bruce Lee to say he's a narcissist, and it's almost like everybody has a narcissistic side to them. And this whole YouTube thing is called YouTube for a reason. It's all about you. So everything on YouTube is essentially narcissistic. And at least I recognize that, hey, this is a part of me that some people may not like. This is a part of me that might need some work. But I can't go against common sense. There is no way in hell that I'm just going to listen to any average person out there. I'm only going to listen to the people worth listening to. If I want to learn boxing, I'll learn as much as I can from Floyd Mayweather Jr. But I don't want to learn boxing. I want to learn martial arts. Not just learn it, but get better at it. And there's nobody out there in a position to criticize martial arts according to my vision, because nobody's studying what I'm studying. Everybody's studying combat sport. I'm like one of the very few people in the world that actually studies martial arts. And Bruce Lee was another one, and to me, he's the only one even worth listening to, because everybody else, they're doing other stuff. So it's either Bruce Lee or myself, and that's it. So that's the way that I see it.